Tyndalston is a city full of corruption and crime. It's like a city on the brink in a lot of ways. There's a new drug called White Whisper that's been like sweeping through the city. You'll meet people who have been affected by it. You'll get into fights with like dealers who are pushing it, and then that also like ties into the main narrative.
Tyndalston can be a very harsh and unfair city, and this is where Samson lives and works as an enforcer in the Cobb Street gang.
So the game takes place in South End, which is kind of the roughest part of the rough city of Tyndalston. And South End is where Samson grew up, but he's been away for the past few years on the mainland, getting into trouble and accruing a huge amount of debt that he now has to repay.
In Samson, there are basically three main modes of play. Missions, which are split up into narrative chapters, and jobs, and then open exploration, whether that's searching for collectibles or trying to find optional story content.
I'm really sorry to bother you, but could you spare a minute?
Or just taking in the view. Once I described the game as a violent lesson in risk management, and I think that's pretty accurate. We don't want to be too punishing to players for failing a mission or a job here and there, but having said that, you wake up every day and you hopefully feel this like healthy dose of stress of like, oh shit, I have to make a lot of cash today so I can chip away at this debt. And at the same time, the better you do at any given day, the more money you're walking around with, like actual cash in South End, and that's dangerous. If you get randomly ambushed in an alley on your way home or whatever, the most probable thing that will happen if you get knocked out is that you lose that money. There's always like that feeling of, I'm having a pretty good day. Is that good enough? Should I go home and bank that progress so they are actually safe?
Yeah, or do I want to like take the risk and try to go out and earn just like a little bit more money, chip off a little bit more of the debt?
If you ignore your debt for too long, maybe you get a friendly visit from some debt collectors who are there to remind you that you should pay more attention to the debt.
Yeah, jobs are your primary way for earning money in the game, and then the chapters are kind of like story delivery method. Every day, the player can choose like which one they want to do and kind of like mix and match to their choice or to whatever pressures are on them at the time. One is not more important than the other. Like we want the chapters and jobs, they kind of like run in parallel, right? And the player has to kind of decide like which is more important at any given time.
I'll have this debt paid off soon, sis.
Yeah, I think it's interesting in the game with this like push and pull between narrative chapters and jobs. Also the fact that you cannot do everything in a single day, even Samson has his limitations. On the one hand, I'm really eager to find out what happens after the last cliffhanger potentially in the narrative chapters. On the other hand, like maybe my car is broken down. I was planning to try and win a street trial later to earn a bunch of cash, so I need to balance those things and then also see like what does a good day look for me today.
Yeah, the chapters tell a linear story. Shortly after Samson returns to Tyndalston, we have kind of an inciting incident that kicks off the adventure. So the chapters are meant to pull the player kind of like narratively through while they're trying to deal with the debt cycle.
So jobs are your primary way of making cash in the game, and back in the day, Samson used to do that for himself to earn money and also for the Cobb Street gang. But nowadays that he's in debt to the wrong people, he kind of needs to do that every day to chip away at this debt and keep the wolves at bay.
God damn, that feels good.
There's a wide variety of jobs in Samson. It could be anything from picking up criminals at the scene of a crime, losing the heat and dropping them off at a safe location, or maybe someone needs the help of procuring new items. Or it could be maybe a group of young wannabes are trying to start a gang in South End without your say-so. Maybe you need to go there and tell them that's not a very wise idea. And a large amount of these jobs are repeatable. For example, every now and then in South End, some freshly harvested organs need delivery to like an underground clinic, and that can happen every now and then. Other jobs are more uniquely tailored and are more one-off, such as maybe you're after a unique named individual and need to take them out.
far back as I can remember, I worked for other people. They called it opportunity. I called it debt. The city never stopped moving, and neither did what I owed. I never picked the smart job. I picked the one that brought me another day. In Tyndalston, nobody waited their turn. If you gave them space, they took your teeth. Sometimes you didn't need skill. You just needed something solid. You hear that? Yeah, that's the sound a face makes when it meets regret. Pain built up. Adrenaline took over. I didn't fight to win. I fought to finish. Cars had weight. Every hit mattered. The more work I did, the louder the city got. Miss a payment, and they reminded you. They weren't negotiators. They were punctuation. When the day ran out, so did your luck. Sleep didn't fix a thing. It just reset the clock. It was all connected. Time, debt, violence, and speed. People talk about freedom like it's a feeling. They have no idea.
You're playing as a tough guy, as this two-fisted action hero who's not a soldier, who's not a martial arts master, who's not trained or he's skilled, he's tough, driven to fight out of desperation and survival. You're gonna get ganged up on, they're gonna try and get behind you, they're gonna charge in on all sides. You gotta keep moving, keep swinging. You can walk into a nice clean room and totally wreck the place. You can take broken things and make them into weapons. You can knock stuff over onto people. Debris can get in enemies' ways. Heavy stuff can fall and kill people. Like, it's crazy. We really want you to be able to use the city to really, really hurt your enemies. We've spent a lot of time thinking about what is this fighting supposed to feel like, you know? And we really wanted to emphasize that you're desperate, you're tough, you're driven to fight. When you pulled out a gun, it got fast and it was almost too clean, it was too easy. You know, you'd get out of a fight, you'd pull out a gun, you'd be at distance, you'd take out your targets. We weren't getting the same kind of crazy chaos. And the more we played with it, the more we just decided to see how much fun you could have with your bare hands.
I'm really happy to see that the combat in the game has evolved into what it is today and what you have seen here in these videos. The original vision for combat in Samson was to hit like a freight train. And I'm really happy to see that we have succeeded in these areas and continue to make such progress. So combat in Samson doesn't stop with punching or kicking.
We're making a city in the 90s, so cars we know are going to be a part of the game. We know they're going to be a form of transport in the world and traffic, so they are getting you from point A to B. However, it's also a tool for the player. Samson, his loved magnum opus car is his weapon as well. You know, if he's tasked with getting this hit where this guy is speeding in front of him and the only thing is his car, he may have to weave through traffic and slam his car into his to push that car off the road or into a post or something to take it out. Another time it might be, you know, he's trying to help his team through a heist or a hit, and he needs to get them out of that location before the enforcement arrives, so it might be a getaway vehicle. It might just be a simple delivery tool as well, like he needs to help his gang get things delivered around town on time, and he's the man for that. So it's a multi-purpose tool, I think, that are vehicles in this game. In-car combat, it's about it can be cars hitting each other, and it's the relative momentum of the two cars, like how fast the car is, how much mass they have is dictating the damage that's being done. Then the damage of the car, I don't want to feel a car just dies. Cars don't die. They're made up of lots of different parts. We have a part system. There's tires, wheels, the engine. These can all degrade. The player will feel how that car, the consequences of how those parts are damaged.